everybody. Today's going to be a busy one. I'm grabbing about 10 minutes in the middle of a bunch of other stuff just to say hello and do a little intro for today's vlog. It's a very busy schedule day for me. I had Pathfinder prep, and then in about 15 minutes I'm going to start Persona 5 Dancing Starlight, whatever the American name for that game is. It's the Persona 5 rhythm game, and it's going to be stupid, and I'm just there to see the costumes and listen to the remixes, but it's going to be really fun, and I've missed that Persona universe, and I've been all hyped up again because they introduced Joker in Smash, which is cool, and I keep thinking about maybe buying Smash, but every time I do, I remember I haven't turned on my Switch in like months, and I don't really like competitive fighting games, but I'm caught up in the hype, and I miss Persona, and Joker is awesome. So instead, we're going to use that energy, and we're going to play Persona today, which I'm excited about. I think it'll be fun. The last game, Persona 4 Dancing All Times Forever, was good gameplay-wise. I really like rhythm games. I like them the same as I like quick-time events in games. I think there's something about keeping your brain going quickly and hitting the buttons at the right time, and I'm excited about that, but busy day. So I'll do that stream, and that'll be about 4 or 5 hours. I will try to grab an hour to make dinner, and then I'm making my Dungeon World character for Jesse's game. It's gonna be a funny thing because I really have to try super hard not to backseat Dungeon Master when somebody else is running Dungeon World. Now, I can do it because I've run characters in one-shots before, right? Maybe you saw me and Matt and Nadja, and who else played in that one-shot? It was me, Blue Jay, Nadja, Matt. I'm totally blanking on the fourth player. Weird. The answer was Holly Conrad. Holly was the person I played Dungeon World with. Huh. Anyway, you may have seen me play Pamplemousse LaCroix, and I've been in other Dungeon World one-shots, and it's hard to not just be like, well, I know the rules and I want to help you, so here's what you should be doing. It'll be interesting, kind of giving Jesse the reins and biting my tongue and not stepping in. Everybody runs games differently, and if a game cannot survive being played by someone who is not the designer, it's not a good game. So if it's a bad experience, and Jesse read the game and didn't make any mistakes playing it, but he couldn't figure it out, that's on me as a designer. So whatever, it's fine. I'm excited to play. We're gonna have a good time. I'm excited to find out what Jesse's vision for the world is. Like, is this gonna be like silly or dark or like adventure-y? Are we gonna like go to the North Pole and save Frosty? Or is this gonna be more like defeat the Krampus type situation? So we're making characters for that tonight. I've never played with Elsbeth before, and have I ever played in a game with Dodger? Or JP for that matter? Wow, cool. Oh, I'm so excited. So main characters tonight, and then finally, around like 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, I will have some time to myself. And so my plan is to edit some film. By which I mean I took some photos when I was in Seattle of Blue Jay, and I've scanned a few rolls, but I still have 2 rolls of 35mm and a roll of medium format that I need to scan. So I'm going to do that tonight, and we'll talk a little bit about how I get photos from the film in the camera to the picture to my computer to you on Instagram. And so we'll talk about the program that I use, and I'll walk you through that, and I'll talk a little bit about why I find scanning photos so meditative. So I'll be back for that in a little bit. Right now, I got Persona to play. See you in a bit. This is all the stuff that I use to scan my photos once they're developed. So let's take a look. The photos that I'm scanning today are from this camera. This is a Pentax 672. This camera was released in 1999, and it's a medium format camera. You can tell because this is the film. It's medium format film. It's bigger, it's wider, it creates a larger negative than 35mm film, which is probably the kind of film that you're familiar with, if you are familiar with film cameras at all. And I can get 10 shots on a roll of 120 medium format. That's a roll of Portra 400, which is color film, 400 speed color film. But I'm not going to be scanning photos from that today. Today I'm scanning T-Max, which is a black and white film. As you can see, these are the negatives. These are negatives that I had developed at that lab that I showed you before. And I had these developed. Usually developing them takes like 4 or 5 hours. Like I can drop them off in the morning and pick them up at night. I get them in this format. They're developed. They're not scanned or printed by the shop because I'm going to do the scanning myself. And then if I want to print anything, I can print it at home. You might recognize this person. These are all shots from Blue Jay's house on the weekend. So the first thing that I have to do before I can start scanning them is to divide up the roll of film into subsections. I can't fit a whole roll into my scanner at once. So usually with medium format, I'll break it down into sets of 2 or 3 photos. This makes them easier to archive later. I've got a binder that I'll show you where I keep all my photos once they're done. So yeah, I just take a pair of regular scissors and I just find the spot I want to cut it at and go to town. And I think I'm going to do 2 for the first one. And we'll do 2. I'll just cut these in 2s, I think. Doesn't make a huge difference. There's lots of room in medium format between each picture. Now some people are a lot more gentle with their film, right? They'll use gloves or whatever, but I don't know, I think it's okay. Film's tougher than most people give it credit. All right, so now we're ready to load up our film frame. And this frame is what's going to go into the scanner. It's this guy right here. And basically I just load up the first frame into the little holder. Okay, make sure it's good, top and bottom. Now it's ready to go in the scanner. This is the scanner that I use for all of my photos. It's an Epson Perfection V600. Now, there are better scanners, but those better scanners are also like $1,000, which at this point, after all the scanning I've been doing, it's an upgrade I'm considering. It's on my Amazon wish list if anybody wants to get really, really generous. But for the meantime, the Epson Perfection V600 is a pretty good scanner, and it's been working out pretty good for me. One thing to note about this scanner is that it's got a traditional scanning surface down at the bottom. This is where the scanner passes and grabs whatever's above it. But because we're scanning transparencies, we're scanning film, we need to be able to push light down through it onto the scanning surface, which is what this little section is for. So it's an LED light that will slowly go up the scanner as the arm goes, and it'll push light through our negative. Right? And then we can get a positive image using the scanning software. So I just take the holder, and I throw it in here, and I close it up. Now, I haven't done any scanning today, so there's possibly some dust in there, which is what this weird little object is for. No, it's not a sex toy. No, it's not a grenade. This is a blower. Haha. And it just gets dust off of things without you having to touch them. So I'm going to use the blower a little bit on the negative. So we'll just go... Make sure there's no dust on here, because dust in the scanner will show up as weird little lines. And nothing's ever perfect, but it's a good start. And then I'm just gonna wipe the base down to make sure any dust that's on there just gets cleaned right off. Okay, throw that in there. And everything else we do is on the computer. Once I have the negative in the holder, and I've got the holder in the scanner, and the scanner plugged into the computer, I will let the software do the rest of the work. So the software that I use is a program called Silverfast. It's an LSI program. It is reliable. It's fairly quick. The user interface is a little bit Windows 95, but what are you gonna do? These things are not meant to be beautiful looking, but it's functional. And it's got a ton of really cool features, most of which I've already preset. I did a quick pre-scan, but we'll zoom in a little bit and I'll let you know what we're going through here. So this is a pre-scan of the image. It's a low-res picture. This is our photo of Blue Jay. And this allows me to figure out if I need to change the exposure or change the framing, because only the stuff in the middle of this red box is gonna get scanned in when we're done. So this is where I'm going to start with. This is my image. I can adjust the exposure in here if I want. Thank you, scanner. I can adjust the exposure here if I want to. I can make it brighter or darker overall, but generally I like doing that stuff. Any editing that I'm going to do in Photoshop. So I've created a boundary around the image here just so that we're capturing only the part of the negative that I want. And I'm not going to make too much more adjustment. One thing that I really like about Silverfast is that up here, I've got the option to set in presets for film vendor, film type, and ISO. So they've gone and they've created a bunch of automatic presets to get the best out of those types of film. So this is set for Kodak, for T-Max, and for 400, so we're ready to go. I'm not gonna mess with any of my other settings. I am scanning these at about 7,000 by 9,000, give or take. You can see that up here. And at 3,600 resolution, PPI or DPI as TIFF files. So they're lossless, they're enormous, they're like almost 200 megs a piece, but they're gonna give me the best possible image quality for printing if I want to go that direction. So all I got to do now is just hit this scan button and then it's going to process. Now these scans, we do 2 scans of them, so it's 2 full passes, and these can take 5 to 12 minutes depending on the size of the image and how deep the color depth. So I'm just going to let it run and we're going to do something else while it does this. Here we go. So why would I go through all this effort? Like, what's the point? Why spend a bunch of money on an old camera? Why buy film? Why spend all the money getting it developed? Why spend all the time editing it and scanning it and going through that whole process? I think part of it is, to some degree, a fetishization of a kind of photography I never had any access to before. Like, I didn't learn on a film camera. So this is all kind of not new to me, but it's accessing a past that I didn't get to experience when I first started with photography. My first camera was a Canon digital SLR. Admittedly, it was an old, janky one from 2001, but for me, this is me coming into film. Also, there's an unpredictability to film photography. There's something about taking a photo and not getting to know what it is until you go through the process of scanning it. Like this photo of Blue Jay, this is a nice surprise. I kind of had an idea of what it would look like, but seeing the final product is really rewarding. And I think more than anything else, there's a meditative state that you can kind of get into. I will set aside some time in an evening, an hour to scan a roll, and it's really nice. It's really relaxing. Like, I'll sit down and I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to music and I'll just scan photos one after another. And every 10 or 15 minutes, I get a nice little surprise. I get to see a photo I haven't seen before. It makes me really happy to get to do that. So I think that's more than anything. I think that's what it is it's that kind of process. It's take the photos, wonder about what they're gonna look like, build up a cache of them in my fridge, take them to the store, get them developed, bring them home, look at them in tiny negative and wonder, and then finally see them on the screen, and then pour over them, right? Clean them up, tidy them, make them look good, and then save them away so that I can share them later. And what I've been thinking about more and more lately is what's next. Beyond just posting them on Instagram or posting them on Twitter or sharing them with the people who are in the photos, what do I do with them? And so I've been thinking about printing them. I've done prints here and there. I printed some photos for Blue Jay. I made a little photo book of my own stuff just to try it out. But I definitely want to do more. And that's kind of where I am in thinking about 2019. What else can I do with my photos? So yeah, that's what's on my mind. That's what I like about photography, film photography especially. It's the right tool for the right job. There are some times where I just want to use digital because that's the smart move, but not every time. There is an intentionality, a slowness to film that I've come to love. So this is the process. It looks like my scan is done, so let's take a look at the last step before we're finished. The last thing that I need to do before I'm done with the scan and before I move on to the next negative is just take a quick look at the image in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, what I'll usually do is take a look at the levels and the curves of the image and just see if there's anything I need to balance out. Bring down the shadows, bring up the highlights, make any adjustments to the overall balance of the image. I actually really like this photo. I think it's good as it is, so I don't want to play with it too much. I'll also take a quick look to see if there's any little bits and bobs that need to be removed, if there are any hairs that ended up on the scan. This negative turned out pretty clean. There's a little bit of degradation over on the side here, and I could, if I wanted to, go through and clean up each and every little bit of this, which I would do, definitely, if I was going to print this image. But for right now, this is about all I need to do. Now, this image, like I said, these medium format scans are remarkable in size, right? Let's take a look at this at 100%. So that's about 100% there, just a little more. Look at the great texture on Blue Jay's scarf. Isn't that nice? So yeah, that's it. This image is now scanned, and I will save it up in its current form, and I'll file it away, and eventually it'll make its way to the internet to get shared. Once the digital file is safely archived, I need to do the same with the negative. So you can see this is a book of rolls of film, negative film, that has been cut and processed, stuff that I've scanned in the past and has made its way into my archive. And so this is what I need to do with my last negative, the one that I just scanned. So let's grab it out of the scanner. And file it away. Right in here. And now it is safely protected in the box in case I ever need to scan it again. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been the 13th of December for Vlogmas. We're almost halfway there. Thanks for coming and watching and being interested in this stuff. I've gotten so much good feedback on Vlogmas, and it gives me the energy to continue going, even during days like this when I'm super busy. I'm gonna go and make a character for that Dungeon World one-shot, and we will see you tomorrow for the next installment of Vlogmas.